Today's project is a tabletop propane powered patio heater. So I ordered a new, it's the piezo striker, the thermocouple, and the, I'm not really sure what it's called. It's basically the little flame that lights the ring of fire to keep the thing going, and it also keeps the thermocouple hot. Anyway, it's an all-in-one assembly, so I suspect that that whole works is bad. So today we're going to be replacing that on this heater. So the first thing we're going to do is take the finial off the top here. That just unscrews by hand. And then you've got this little doohickey thing up top, decorative thing. Makes a nice cup, put all the hardware in. So it doesn't roll off the table. And then you've got 3 nuts up here. Take those off. There's washers. Put them in your little bowl. And this top piece will come right off. Ours is tweaked, of course, because it, took a little ride to the ground on a windy day. Then your little grate here just simply slides out of the pegs. Or the holes, rather. Then you've got some screws around the base here, and they're just Phillips screws. And then this part we'll pull out of here. It's a tight fit, but it comes out. So that's that little screen, burner screen thing. Okay, and that leaves us with access to the burner assembly and the ignition and pilot assembly that we're going to replace right here. This is the assembly here that we're going to replace, and it comes with the piezo, the thermocouple, and I'm not really sure what that part's called. The flame doohickey, that's what we're going to call it. Okay, here's my loyal assistant, my dad here, and he's going to show exactly what is wrong with this heater. Here's the normal procedure that you use to light this thing.
That's off. That's pilot. Push it in.
If you look here, you can see that that little flame right there is not quite reaching the thermocouple. And I suspect that if this assembly was working correctly, that flame would be much bigger and it would heat up that thermocouple properly, which would allow the gas to flow to the burner assembly up here. So it just simply isn't working with its own flame. So we have a torch here that's going to do the job of this burner assembly. So when you heat up that thermocouple with the torch, then the burner assembly lights properly. And of course our hand-powered torch works as well as our patio heater. Ah, there we go. Oh.
346 minutes later.
Don't try this at home.
And see, with the thermocouple hot, it works fine. As soon as it cools off, it craps out. And that's what we're going to fix today. The next step is to remove the burner assembly. And there are just 2 screws on the bottom here, one on the side and one on that side. So zip those right out of there. No problem there. Very simple. And this guy just lifts right out like that. Nothing really hooked up to it. Now is a good time to clean this out. Like, there's like spiders and critters and stuff that like to live in these things. Clean it out. In fact, there's a bunch of crap falling out of this one, which probably hasn't helped our cause at all. But anyway, take your compressed air or whatever you've got and try to clean the orifices out and clean everything out of here. This is a really clear view of the assembly here. It all goes down that tube. And this is the whole works here. And it's just held in by 2 screws that you can see on the underside here. There are just 2 screws under here. And here's the brand new assembly. It's got all the same pieces, and you just have to carefully unwind all this, and that will have to be threaded down through this pipe here. And that goes down into this cavity where the propane tank screws in and everything there. Now we're going to take the bottom assembly apart from the top assembly, and that will expose where you screw the bottle in and all the connections and everything for the gas. And there are screws just around here. You'll be able to see all the way around. And the whole top assembly comes out like that. Okay, so once you get this taken apart and you're looking inside here, you can see this little orifice here comes around and plugs in. So be mindful of where these wires are plugged in. You know, don't just take everything apart. Pay attention to what goes where. Mark them if you have to, but you'll see how everything goes here onto the switch assembly thing here. If you look here, you can see that that same little orifice kind of thing has a little short wire there. So when you look in there, you can see that everything coincides with how this is laid out. So I've marked the connector here with an L. I don't know if you can see that. There's an L there. And then the same thing on the long wire for L for long. That way I'm certain which goes where. Then we need to take off that fitting right there, so that is a 5/16 wrench to get that off of there. Go ahead and straighten those out so they come out of the pipe a little easier. And then we'll end up pulling these up through the whole center assembly here to the top where the burner is. And these are the 2 screws that hold in the burner assembly on top, or not the burner assembly, but the pilot assembly. These are about the only 2 screws that are different than all the rest, so you might want to put those separate, so you don't get them mixed up. All the other ones seem to be pretty much the same as each other. Okay. A close-up look of what's going on in here. You need to hold this fitting right here with a 12mm wrench and then break it free from this one here. This is actually seems to be soldered to this line. So you'll take this connector off of the piezo, which frees up this assembly, and then you can put a wrench on here and turn like that off of this line. And it'll of course want to tangle the lines down inside of here, and that's okay as long as it's disconnected from down below. You'll just you kind of have to fiddle with it, but it will come off. That's the way to take that assembly out. And then this whole thing will just pull out of here. And that whole assembly just comes out like that. Once you get this old assembly out of there, there's a bracket on here that you need to remove. And there are just 2 screws on the front there and there. And you need to use this bracket on your new pilot assembly. So the way you want to do this is bend your lines up like this. You know, normally they hang down like this. Bend them up. That way you can twist it onto this fitting without getting everything tangled up in this neck.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
And we can
So now it's just like hand tightened onto there, and then you want to take your wrenches on these 2 fittings and just give it a little snug up. Okay, so everything's all tightened on the line here, and then you want to take these and carefully feed them down, find the most direct route. Alright, now we've got our new lines down here and we can hook them up. Once everything is threaded through and you know you got everything hanging out the bottom here, take your hardware and secure at the top here the 2 Phillips screws that came out of this bracket. And then you put your line back on the piezo here. And that just shoves up on there like that. The longer wire goes on top that I marked the L for. Put those in, and then you've got the little orifice thingy that goes. Make sure that's nice and snug. Don't destroy it, but make sure it's snug so you don't get a gas leak there. Okay, looks good. And don't forget to hook up your the piezo thing here. Just stick right on there. Then you want to make sure that the line for the burner assembly is kind of centered, because when you drop the whole burner assembly on there, it just kind of sits over that line. Okay, for the burner assembly, again, just put your screws back in. Alright, moment of truth. Everything's assembled. Tank is back in. The dad's going to try to light it up, see how we did. If this lights up, the burner lights, we're all good. Come on, complete the circle. There it goes. Alright. That's it. That's a win. So there it is in its full working glory. It's got that one tall flame in there, but I think they're all like that. But as you can see, it gets red hot. Well, hopefully that was helpful if you have a broken patio heater. And as always,
If
we
she
can do it.
you can do it.
Thanks for watching. Oh my god, that's gonna be so bad.
Oh, you have to do this.
Couple of jackasses. Oh, hard to get a grip.